Welcome everybody to the Directors Club. I'm Jared Chirico. And joining me tonight will be Michael Jordan, as always, and Chris Gale. We're excited to have a guest moderator, Boris Febroid, who is not only the director of rackets at the Philadelphia Cricket Club, but is also the president of the USPTA Middle States Division. This is an extremely special call because it's a rare opportunity to meet a leader that is in many ways going to transcend multiple generations and touch all of us at many different parts of our careers. I'm excited to welcome Brian Dillman. And Brian, before we get into this, you're stepping into some pretty big shoes. And it's incredibly hard sometimes to navigate things that have been going on for so long. And what struck me the most about you from the day that you took over is that there has been nothing but excitement from day one, whether it's on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on social media, or from the staff that you have. You seem to have brought a breath of fresh air into USPTA in ways that I think are not only, excited about, but, people are thankful for. And the only other thing that I think about, or that I constantly think about, is so often organizations get it wrong. They have opportunities to make changes to really right the ship and get things right. And it seems like for the first time in a long time, someone as big of an organization that's been around for almost 100 years has got it right. So first, I want to give you a chance to, say hello to everyone and say thank you for being here. So welcome. And my first question to you tonight is, why you?
Well, thank you guys for having me. It is an honor, and it's an honor. And I think the why me comes down to energy and enthusiasm. I have loved this sport since the minute I hit the first tennis ball, or actually the minute I failed at swimming and took up tennis instead. But I am passionate about not only this sport, but about this industry and the people in the industry that make it and their careers. And so I think, my vision is not only about the people and the members, but it's also about where our industry needs to be as an organization, and where we need to, we need to make this a legitimate industry so that we can, recruit the next, 10,000 coaches and professionals that we need.
So before we get into the United States Professional Tennis Association and what you're doing and your vision for rackets, I'd love to understand more about Brian Dillman as a person, because I looked through your LinkedIn and I've known you now for a while. I think it feels like I've known you for forever, and I'm thankful for that. But so many jobs that you've had, people would think this is a career-ending job. This is, vice president of global sales at Wilson, CEO of Mihal Bodytech. Every time you seem to keep pushing for more and learning from it and growing, when so many people would say, this is enough. What do you think it is about you that forced you to get those positions and then continue on?
Curiosity more than anything else. I am just continuously learning and trying to continuously learn. And I feel like this industry is just in this perfect spot right now. Somebody said earlier today, I got to miss the boring part. Like, I was out of the industry, before the peaks and before the pandemic and before pickleball and all that. I got to miss the boring part. I mean, can you imagine coming to an industry where you can guarantee people jobs? I mean, that's the industry we're in right now. So, for me, it was also the opportunity to come back and work in tennis and racket sports, which frankly, it's to see people like you on the call who are interested and also passionate about this industry that we have so much in common with, and I haven't met most of you. And I don't think you can build an industry like that organically, which we have and you have, this is where I want to be. And I don't, career ending, no, that's BS. This is career beginning from as far as I'm concerned.
So you said something interesting. You said this is probably the only industry where we can guarantee people jobs. And yet we're sitting on a moment where we're going to grow 200, 300% and lose 30% of staff. Do you think, well, one, I guess the question is, why is that? And do you think that USPTA and for the better part, PTR are slightly at fault for the position that we're in as an industry?
I mean, fault is it's hard to blame, and I'd rather not look backwards. I'd rather look forwards. And I think one of the things we have to do is to tell stories of people exactly like who are on this call and why they got into this industry, and show them what success looks like. I think people get in and out because they don't have the best mentors available, or they don't tap into mentors. And I think ultimately it comes down to connections, to listen to your group and to be in, I've been part of the Directors Club now for over a year and just been listening in the meetings. And, the connection is why people are in this industry and why people join the USPTA, the PTR, the other organizations. It's because of the people. So I think that's the biggest part about it. And, one of our goals in growing this next level and the next population of professionals is they've got to have people. They've got to have people, put their arm around them, put them under their wing and teach them the way you guys, everybody on this call has had a coach or somebody show them the way, or multiple. That's our job. I think that's our responsibility.
When you talk about connections and network, I want to go back to even how we met. You were the CEO of Miha Body Tech, which in many ways is not even in the rackets industry. And you were one of the first members to join the Directors Club. And I know there's many USPTA members on this call that might not really know what the Directors Club is, but when you think that we've grown to 507 members at 113 clubs in 3 different countries, it's pretty incredible in a year. But you saw a vision in that early on. And I think it goes back to what you were talking about in connections and network. And in many ways, I know that's why I've always been a member of the USPTA and the PTR. It's not because I go to the conferences and I feel like I necessarily learn enough to bring it back, but it's about the people and the connections that I make that ultimately keep fueling my success and the experience of my members. So I wonder, when you look at the industry where we're at now, what would you say is the value to being a member of the USPTA? Why should someone like myself at a country club or a teaching pro in Parks and Rec, what's the value of membership?
I think it does go to people. We can list our benefits, but I think that's not as exciting as who you meet when you go to a conference, or who you can call when you need help, or who you can pick up the phone and help somebody else find a job. I don't see, membership is what you get out of it, honestly. We obviously need to do our job. We need to have the best in class products. And I think that's where we're moving towards is we've got to have great products. Our certification has to be great. Our education has to be great. We also have to have very specific targeted to who our customers are. But at the end of the day, it's the value you get out of it as well. And, the friends you make, the connections you make, which is ultimately going to help you hopefully get another job, a better job, or be a better candidate.
So let's talk about the first 100 days, because we had a discussion, I don't know, probably early on in the Directors Club, and we talked about, the first 100 days starts before your first 100 days. And, we even had a Zoom call yesterday with you, and I called Chris and Michael, and I said, I can't believe it's a Sunday and he's in his office working. Clearly you're dedicated. What does your first 100 days look like? And what are the initial things that you want to implement and change as you look to the future of USPTA?
So what I did first is I had conversations with all of our staff here, all of our board of directors, all of the divisional board of director presidents, and our EDs, and just really listened, to be honest. And I needed to hear from them thoughts, feelings, good, bad, ugly. We need to go through a strategic planning process. That's the next step. That will help guide us and lead us into where the future goes. And one of the big things for me in that is just to be better. At the end of the day, we need to do things better in all areas. But the second part of that is this recruiting and making sure that our industry is an industry that people want to join. And we need to do that through stories, through mentorship, through leadership, and through other ways. And after that, I think we need a rebranding, remarketing. We're going to move more to overall racket sports, not just tennis. We have pickleball certification now. We have platform, padel. We have other racket sports as well that we're working on. So that's another piece too, is really rebranding. And then the final part to that is rolling this out to make sure that our members see value and we're doing what our members want. And so part of that strategic plan is listening to our membership. And as deep in the trenches as they want to participate, we want to hear from them as we go through this process.
So let's talk about rackets for a second, because you mentioned it, and that's a huge word when you look at our industry now. It's not tennis and pickleball and padel and paddle, it's rackets. What does rackets mean to you when you think of the word rackets? What is that?
It's anything you can hit a ball with, and it's anything that one of our members or anybody who wants to become a member needs to learn about to be a better employee, have a better resume, and be a better candidate. Even if you never play pickle or you never play padel, knowing about it, knowing about the business, knowing about how the industry, that industry works, is just going to make you more attractive as a candidate. And so our goal is to not only go through a certification education of those, but also teach the business of that. So it's the business of padel. It's the business. I mean, learning from Marcos on the padel side applies to every one of you in many different ways. And it has nothing to do with the sport itself. It has to do, again, with programming and planning and education and passion.
So some of the critics would say when you look at USPTA in the past is they're quick to buy something and then they turn their eye and kind of let the boat sink. When you look at platform tennis and in many ways, when you look at pickleball, you know, the quality of what is written is just about getting members instead of educating members and giving them the tools to succeed. How do you plan on changing that and getting the right people in place that can not only bring members in, but keep them so they feel valuable and that they're learning? Because I think there is a big switch between one, getting certified, and two, continuing to be educated. And I think as we move into rackets, and you can disagree, but as we move into rackets, the key really is about that continuing education.
I review your question again. That took a bit.
Well, you know, my question is when you look at, you know, USPTA bought, you know, USA Pickleball, or not USA Pickleball, they bought the PPA a while ago, the
Oh, yeah, okay,
well,
okay,
the PPTA, the paddle. And then with pickleball, it was IPTPA. And then from there, when that didn't work out, they wrote their own thing, which arguably was kind of worse than what it is, you know, today or what it is now. How do you come out of that while utilizing the same people? How do you change a behavior to get members not only to join the USPTA and get certified, but to stay there because you're educating them to the future?
Yeah, I want to take the chasing membership off the table ASAP. I that's a reputation that, you know, when I went through the search and had conversations with the committee, I said the same thing. I said, you know, every time I see something, you know, something visible or some marketing from the USPTA, it's about money. And what I'd rather see from us going forward is about how we can help you and how we can help build your skill set. And so I look at everything like, you know, your quivers of arrows that you have. And so, you know, and we also need to be best in class. I mean, I think we need to take a step back, which is what the strategic plan's about, and decide, do we have the right people in-house? Do we need to go outsource? I mean, you know, Marcos is a great example from the Padel side. Is there is nobody better, and there's nobody that knows it better, deeper, and is better at what he does than him. So why would we go try to pretend that we know more or that we can do it better than him? That's the model we need to follow, because that's where you're going to find people connecting. And find more people like that in all different categories so that we can have the best in class. And that's ultimately what we want to do. It's got to be quality over quantity. And, you know, some people aren't going to like that. And, you know, that's our charge is to do what's best for our members, not to get the most members. It's to do the best for our members.
And without a doubt, you got it right with Padel, because Marcos is absolutely fantastic. So when you look at the 100 people, and that's pretty amazing, 100 people that are tonight during national football, you have Methodist, you have Ferris State, you've got the students that are wanting to get into this industry. You've got the biggest directors in the country. I see at least 17 general managers. So when you look to say that USPTA is going to be a certification body, an education body for everybody, how does one join, and how do you see that broken up so that someone can stay with you throughout their career and continue to have value?
That's the best question so far. So what I really, really, really want to do is it's a push and a pull. So the push is from our side. I mean, collectively, everyone in this industry has to start going to high school coaches, high school teams, junior colleges, community colleges, and sell the idea of a career in racket sports. We have done a horrible job in packaging our career, packaging our jobs, what a career looks like, and a worse job in marketing our careers. Most of us, and I included myself, I didn't know what I was going to do out of college. You know, my senior year, I finished playing tennis at Illinois, and my pro sat me down and said, "Here, I'm going to show you what a career path looks like." How many times has that happened to all of you guys? I have a feeling not very. I think a lot of us have back-ended our way into the racket sports business. Just like other industries that do this really professionally, we need to raise our game. We need to become more pro in everything we do. So that's number one. That's the push. We have to push from from that very bottom level. We can teach people how to feed balls and how to run programs and how to teach lessons. That's what we can do. But what we can't teach is, what we can't show them is that career path. And that's where we need your guys' help. We need all of our division presidents, our EDs, and we need everybody out here to promote our sport and our careers. Then the other side is the general managers. They have to demand that the people they hire are certified. And I don't care if you're certified by us or somebody else, but demand they're certified. Demand they've gone through some basic training, or at least some training to get them at a base level, and then coach them up and coach them along the way and mentor them so that they can become better, and better for you, better for the employer, and better for themselves.
So when you talk about one, I think everything you just said is absolutely fantastic. So when you think about, it doesn't matter if they're certified by you or about PTR or whoever, what is your thought on, education, continuing education classes, whether it's University of Florida or CRSE or these other ones that are popping up? Do you think those are added benefits, which, arguably anything's an added benefit, but do you think that should be a non-starter when people are looking for big jobs? Meaning, say a big, club's open, should it be, I'm not USPTA, I'm not PTR, I'm not University of Florida or CRSE, this person shouldn't be able to apply, or should it be based also on your merit? And how do you differentiate between the two?
I think, let me go back just to that earlier question. I forgot one point. I think your comment about the PTMs is a really good one. And I think it's sad that we have 3 in tennis and golf has 19. Yeah. So anybody on this call who has access to another PTM, we should look into the HBCUs. We should look at any other opportunity. And the other thing I think, sorry, Jarrett, but I got on a roll here. The other thing I think we really need to focus on are, not everybody can afford to go to college. And becoming a tennis or a racket sports professional is a phenomenal alternative for somebody that can make good money out a year, have mentors to show them how to have a career. And if they want to do that later, that's fantastic. And the other, side of that education is go through the CMAA program. And those are other programs that as an industry, we need to promote and share and tell people about. And then your other question, sorry, Jarrett.
That's okay. No, you touched on all of it, but go ahead, Chris.
Okay.
So Brian, I want to echo the sentiments of everyone that's spoken to you on this call so far, and prior to becoming live, with just your energy, how positive you are, and it just is an amazing start. It's an amazing way to set the culture and the tone. It's absolutely fantastic. So I'm excited for the future. One of the things that you and I have spoken about is how consistently and historically the racket, and you just touched on this now, the rackets industry is really not considered a true career path, and you have people look at these young pros and say, look, have fun for a year or two, and then okay, when are you going to get a real job? So to me, this is an incredible career. And you started talking about having the opportunity to come out, and as an alternative to college, having the opportunity to have a pathway set for you. And how are you going to drive this? How are you going to promote this? And how are you going to provide the education side of this? I'm really curious about that.
So I think that goes back to the driving it comes to, we literally need, and this is part of that strat plan, but we really need each of our divisions or each of our pros to start going to high school tournaments and to start going to the high school conferences and to get those conversations. But you know what the toughest part is, Chris, and the rest of the guys? I had a couple of conversations with people as I was going through my diligence on calls, and I had somebody say to me, I'm just a tennis pro. And that just shattered me. That is not, we need also, our industry needs a pep talk. Do you realize what kind of skills you guys have? You have management skills, you have customer service skills, you have sales skills, you have finance skills, you have logistics. You guys have all the skills that anybody that would be a CEO in any other industry have. But we have not done a good job promoting promoting that, and promoting the rest of our industry. So, that is part of it, we need an industry pep talk. We need to give ourselves a little pat on the back and say, we change people's lives every day with sports that are just phenomenal. So sorry, that's one part, Chris. But the other part is getting educators, like yourself, or like, the people on this call who can come and do serious educations. But I really want to have a curriculum path that each member can go down, if so they so choose, One could be a business degree, one could be a marketing degree, one could be events and planning, one could be HR, and that's what we need to offer so that every time somebody comes through one of our courses, it's an advanced learning. I think there's some other great people that really do this well. The PGA of America is a great example. I did a lot of work with them on the Miha Body Tech side. I think they do things really, really well. Caveat, it helps when you have a major tournament that puts $150 million in your coffers. It's easier to do things well, but generally, you know, they do, their continuing education is required. They have minimum play standards that you have to do before you're even allowed to start the process to become a member. We don't even have enough confidence in our own industry to demand that. So, I mean, we got a lot of work to do, but yeah, I think we got a packaging problem, marketing problem, and we need a pep talk.
I like that. The pep talk is key. You know, I think that there should be so much pride. You know, I remember early on in my career, Brian, I was at a country club just outside of Boston, and I had a member that I was teaching on a weekly basis, and he was the CEO of a major financial institution. And I said, I want you to teach me what it is that you do. This is what I think I want to do what you're doing. And he said, no, you don't. This is the greatest conversation I think I ever had in my career. And I said, why? And he goes, anyone can do my industry. Anyone can go to college, get a business degree, work their way through it. Not anyone can be a tennis professional. And that's a skill set that you're born with and you develop, and you have the coordination and you have the drive and you have the motivation as a young child to be on a tennis court and get better. And you have no idea that at that age you're laying that foundation for what can be a great career for you. So talk about a forward-thinking guy that wasn't even in the industry. But another thing that I want to address, Brian, is there's so many instances with these talented, young, hungry professionals that come out of college. They've played 4 years of competitive college tennis. They love the sport. They love the industry. There's so much passion. There's so much drive. And they get into the industry. They don't work 7 days a week. They work 6.5 days a week, which is 7. You have to get up, you got to suit up, you got to show up, and you got to perform.
Yes,
They work early in the mornings. They work deep into the evenings, holidays. Quite often there's not benefits packages for these professionals. And they look at their friends who have graduated with them, and they're working Monday through Friday. They're going out on a Friday night, Saturday night, and they're like, you want to come party with us? And they're like, I can't, I got to be on a tennis court at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. And our burnout rate and our dropout rate in the industry is early. What are you, two parts to the question. What are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on creating an industry-wide life balance priority?
So it's really interesting you say that, because I think there's that group, and then there's the group that doesn't want to put in the time but still wants to be promoted. So I think we have to address both groups at the same time, especially the first group, because once you get somebody that's passionate, has a personality, and you can teach, we have to go to the general managers and the club managers and the hiring people at the park districts and wherever they work, and help our members negotiate better packages. And that means we need to be the repository of all best practices around the industry, or all worst practices. And that needs to be part of our skill set that we offer our members. No, don't say yes to that. There's other jobs out there. Go negotiate for this, get your benefits, you know, and we need to help them do that. I think that's number one. And then I think I mean, the mentorship thing is enormous, and I wouldn't be here. And I think I saw him on the call, and I might get teared up, but Jack Newman has been an amazing mentor to me in the early days. And I'm so proud to have him, you know, in my corner and on the side. But oh my gosh, do you get mentors like that? There's no stopping them.
It's true. It's true. And the true mentors don't mentor you just while you're with them in the organization. No. It's a lifelong connection. So a couple more questions, Brian, but one thing that you have mentioned a couple of times is the private club industry, the commercial club industry, the recreational departments and industry. And there's always discussion amongst a minimum of 3 different striations of our industry, right? And we're all in the same sport. And I always use the likeness of, well, soccer is called football in Europe.
Yeah.
Gridiron is called football in America. Australian rules football is called football in Australia. You got the same title, but you got these 3 totally different sports, right? I really feel that it's almost like that with a professional pathways that we have. Do you see a vision of being able to integrate and network within all of the different industries within our industry and help everyone grow up and develop off each other? Because a lot of places are all about profit margins, right? But if there's client satisfaction, you're going to have higher profit margins. And if you're in the country club industry, it's all about satisfaction. If the satisfaction level is high, you get a correlating revenue increases. So all of these different striations of our industry can really develop off each other. I'd love to hear if you have thoughts on how that can be really integrated with each other.
One of the things I think, I think you're exactly right. And none of those are sliced the same way, especially your day-to-day operation, who you report to, what's your ultimate, people behave how they're paid. And if you're paid to grow satisfaction, then you're going to do an amazing job at satisfaction. If you're paid to grow membership, that's what you're going to do. One of the things I think we need to do is create communities within our organization that specialize in those areas that you're talking about. And I would add to that, there's people that want to be tour coaches. How do I do that? Who do I go learn that from? I want to be a college coach. Where and how do I do that? I work in the park districts. Show me and how to be an expert there and how to understand 1099s and how to understand part-time employees and things like that. So I think that's one of the other connectors that I'd like to build, are these communities where when you decide what you want to specialize, it's just like going to college. I mean, if you decide, once I get my, I've decided I'm done partying, I'm going to now decide what I want to major in. I think that's kind of the same thing in the tennis industry or the rackets industry. What do I want to major in? I want to be private clubs. I want to be commercial clubs. I want to be independent. We need to help independents. I mean, we need to help them with their business to help them be the best they can be. So I think that's my short answer, long answer to your question.
Great answer. And when you talk about longevity, retention, professionals staying in the industry, there's a key component to that, Brian, that as you develop professionally, you're not plateauing professionally, but it's very quick and it can be very easy for our professionals in our industry to plateau monetarily. So along with the professional growth, do you see an opportunity for the USPTA to teach both parties to renegotiate correctly? The owners of clubs, the general managers of clubs, and then on the flip side, the developing and growing professionals.
I hope my answer is I hope so. I mean, I hope that we're able to have sit downs with truly open-minded general managers to talk about what a life, it's just balance. It's not work life, it's just balance, and help them understand what that means and that their member satisfaction will be higher. Look at anybody, any great manager or any great employer, the happier their employees are, the happier their customers are. But that conversation needs to happen. And I think, we need to truly act like a trade organization with all of our members' best interests at heart. So yeah, whether it is the private club or it is, renegotiating with a commercial club, and making sure that you do show people respect and time off and empathy when it comes to, you're not just a machine. I think that's really important. And ultimately we're going to the club management conference in March, and we're going to start having those conversations right away.
You're also coming to the Directors Club conference in April, and that's going to be the biggest conference. There's never been so many leaders. And I mean, when you think about it, 150 people that are all directors and general managers, that's never been done before. But I want to touch on something that you said. Someone made a comment in the group here, and it also touched on what you said. And they said, we need our USPTA leaders to teach the business of tennis. And you're getting into the same kind of thing. We need to teach, how to interview, how to not just teach, but the whole business side. And this is kind of one of my questions with PTR too. How do you teach something? It goes back to like the whole thing. How do teachers teach what they don't know? If you don't have the people that are the leaders in the industry, well, how do they know how to get to the big jobs? How do they know how to get the right contract? How do we know how to negotiate when you're talking to McMahon Careers or KKW or GSI if they don't have the relationships? And it makes me wonder that sometimes these big organizations like to make these statements that join us and we're going to help you, and it's over promising and under delivering. And that was kind of one of the big things about the Directors Club, and also why I love what Mark's doing with CRSE is it gives you that network of leaders that are actually doing it so you can actually help each other. So when you say all those things, which I absolutely love, it's one of the reasons why I love everything you're doing, because I know you believe it. But you're going against a board and 12 years of the same stuff. How do you get the people in place to be able to deliver on those promises?
Well, it all comes down to telling the right story and having the right plan and just executing on the plan. But it goes back to making sure that the connections and what our members are asking for is actually what we're delivering on. Here's the deal. I've talked to 100 of our members so far, in the first 3 weeks. The rest of our membership might think we're smoking dope and we need to go a different way.
But how
My job is to help lead and guide
Yeah.
and go down the direction that I believe, and that comes from my experience, not only with Wilson, but in other industries and other ways of doing business. And I think that gives me kind of a unique perspective to find experts in the field. Here's what's funny. I made a list of people that I would love to come do specialty courses for us. And I thought, gosh, who do I know from the tennis industry that maybe a banker or something? How about Alex O'Brien? I mean, we grew up playing tennis with him, and he's now been a banker in Amarillo, Texas for the last 30 years. We have such a network of people who either played college tennis or evolved that will come do this because it's just good to do. So that's the goal, is to answer your question specifically, is it's not that we have the experts in house, it's matching those experts with what our members are asking for and finding them and bringing them in to do, whether it's a webinar or a specialty course or things like that. But I truly see this as a curriculum that we need to have available, and our members get to choose that path.
So Brian, Boris here. So I have a quick question. You talked about, strategic plan, and, the USPTA has been already kind of behind a few years when it comes to just certifications, dealing with the USTA stuff. And you talked about communities. What about rebranding outside the organization? The reason I bring that up is in the past 10 years, it's always been USPTA or PTR or, one versus the other, instead of all coming together and kind of saying, hey, we're all in the same industry, how can we grow? How can we learn from each other? Each organization has pros and cons. I'm choosing people, I'm choosing mentors. One of my mentors was Mark McMahon. Spent a year and a half of him learning the ropes. But how do you see the USPTA and the Directors Club coming together, building value? And the reason I say that is I took over as president of Middle States in January. And I know Chrissy here is the past president of it. I went and I personally paid $2,000 for my board to join the Directors Club because there's plenty of value here. And that's what I don't see enough of that among other organizations. It's always like, oh, they're not as good as us. And it's always, who's better. How do you see the USPTA kind of joining the Directors Club and building value for their members?
It's not better. You're right. It's all of us together. And here's the great thing. The second phone call I got when I got the job and it was announced was from Dan Santorum. And he called and said, let's find ways to work together. So you're 100% right. I think everybody has a place in this industry. And people are going to choose us because our product is better, or we connect them better, or they have a better feeling with us. It shouldn't ever be about price. It shouldn't ever be about they do this and we do that. I said this earlier, our industry has been just habitually looking right and left and not forward. We always look at in the industry, in the racket industry, what is Head doing? What's Prince doing? What's Penn doing? We kept looking right and left, but you know what? What did Steve Jobs say? Focus on the dream, not the competition. And that's ultimately what we have to do, Boris, is we have to embrace everybody and, all ships rise. And I know that's kind of a trite saying, but, the Directors Club is adding value because you're bringing together like-minded people. That's what we want to do. We want to bring together like-minded people who can help each other grow, succeed, and feel great about this sport, this industry.
Brian, as a longstanding USPTA member, the thing that's most exciting to me is the buzz around you becoming the new CEO. To say there's been a dark cloud over the USPTA for a while, I think is an understatement in my opinion. But you coming on has created this buzz in the industry, and being able to talk to you and share ideas with you has been, such an honor. My thought is, what are the things that you're most excited about as the new CEO of USPTA, and what keeps you up at night?
I am so excited, honestly, because I know what this industry is capable of, and I know what kind of people it produces, and I know what kind of success those people end up having. And it's just like why you start the sport and why we all put in those grinding hours on the court, early days to have success. And then we've used all those skills we've learned in life, and every other relationship we've done. So the thing I'm most excited about is to see another, and it's not a number. I mean, we have to look at what we think we need for an industry, and we need 10,000 new professionals. But I want to see people falling in love again with not only our organization, but with this industry and with our careers, because that would be what I'd be most excited about. I want it where there's 10 or 15 people in competition for the next director's job that are amazing candidates that you can't choose between. That would be my dream, to really see that careers are being enhanced. And that's ultimately what I would like to see. What keeps me up at night? How to do that, and having the right team to do that, and having the right people to do that. I'm not worried about our industry. Our industry is in good shape. What's missing in our industry right now is energy, it's enthusiasm, it's a slight bit professionalism, and it's also belief. And I think, as I said, what industry can you join right now where you can guarantee people jobs? This is it. I mean, are you kidding me? If you think about overall racket sports, everybody can work right now if they're willing and able. And I think that's an amazing thing to say about our industry. So what keeps me up at night is being able to tackle that mountain. So I'm gonna need everybody's help on this call and everybody's help around the industry. And again, I don't care who it is. I think we need to do a better job selling certification. Again, doesn't matter who or where, but be certified and be legit so that everybody else in our industry can benefit from that.
I think real quick, Michael, I think it's one thing that we can offer everybody jobs in this industry. That's true. There's a shortage, but the goal always needs to be to offer them careers, and to offer people lifelong careers, we need mentors. And I think that's going to go back to USPTA. And my question is, if you don't have the people, is the future about hiring the right people that you're ultimately would have to pull from these big clubs, or is it partnering with, the Directors Club and others to be able to provide what you're looking to provide, that pathway to success?
I think the short answer is partnering in the short term, and then evaluating whether that's the best path for our membership. And then if we need to bring them in-house, we bring them in-house. But I mean, the team here is good. They're energetic, they're enthusiastic. So I think we have a good team to start with, but there is so much experience out there that we need to bring in to help share. Basically, it's sharing your stories and sharing your experiences with others. And I honestly feel obligated to do that. That's what happened for me personally. And I think each of you could probably tell your own story that somebody did the same thing for you. And I think that's our obligation to the industry. And Jarrett, you're right, it's about careers, but having those mentors around you and helping you and guiding you and telling you, hey, go to this course. I just heard it was amazing. Or don't go to that one. It's horrible. I mean, that's the kind of thing we need from our mentors.
Well, I think Dan Santorum once said to me is that and I'm sure you can relate, you might certify 10,000 people in your life and you won't remember them all, but every one of them will remember the person that certified them, and you leave a mark on them. And I think the same thing, like you said, is true for all of us. I remember who I looked up to when I was, trying to become a director, whether it was the Len Samards, the Mark McMahons, the Mark Parsons, all those people that helped shape me. And I think Chris and Boris and Michael could say the same, but it's very similar to what you said. And Michael, you can go, but I just want to touch on that because so much of success is going to depend on the right people. And a lot of times I think where both PTR and USPTA over the years have fallen short is to appease certain people. You don't bring in the right people that have a voice that could bring change. And a lot of times it's not about being right or wrong. It's about giving people a perspective and letting them learn from the many different things that they see. If you can give people a buffet, if you will, then you can allow them to choose what they want to put on their plate, which will ultimately make their career. I'm going to write that down, Michael. All right, you go, Mike.
Well, Brian, you've been a part of the Directors Club since the beginning, and that's what we did to put this thing together, right? Is hear people's stories. We're motivated by that. You have the support of the Directors Club, that. And one of the best things you can do as a professional is come to our retreat. We're going to have the best of the best, and you're going to hear stories about people and success and failure. You know, there's not success without failure. We've all gotten to where we are today with both in mind, right? So, you know, I just am very excited because of your transparency, but your energy. You know, the Directors Club was made to support this industry and to grow better together. People think that's a tagline. It's not. It's something Jarrett, Chris, and I sat down and decided, what do we want for this industry and how can we help and promote people to be better? And it's together. That's the only way you can do it. Whether you're in the Directors Club, the USPTA, it doesn't matter. We're all in the same industry to grow together and to have opportunities like the World Conference, our retreat, anything that can help you be better is what we're all about. And to have your support and to know that you're like-minded in that way is extremely comforting for the future of this industry.
I always looked at it because I started on the product side, right? So we started at Wilson, you know, we always had to look at things like, what will people actually reach in their pocket and pull out their own money to pay for? And, you know, you always have to look at something from that perspective. And if you don't believe, or you don't get people to pull their own money out of their pocket to pay for something, then you're not giving them the quality product. I kind of take that same responsibility here, is that we need to up our game and deliver quality product. And I promise you, we do that, nobody will ever ask or even worry about paying for their membership again. They'll be the first to do it because they get so much, they just love the fact that they get to be part of this because we're giving back to them and making sure that they're getting what they need.
So Brian, I feel like we've kind of hammered you on the USPTA and what you're going to do and what your visions are and where it was, and I love your common voice about no more looking left and right, no more looking backwards. Let's look forward. I think it's fantastic. So and one thing that we like to hear is people's stories. So you have had a career where I believe you were a tennis professional. You've been in the rackets industry with Wilson. You were out of the rackets industry, so to speak. You're back in it again. You've had different opportunities in your career to see a lot of different perspectives. What do you feel is the correlating factor for success across business?
I've said this many times, and I say it in front of this group and whoever else will listen. You have to just keep moving and working forward. There are bad days, there are great days. You've got to keep an even keel on all of them and realize that forward is always the way. And I had some amazingly positive examples, but I think I actually had some almost shockingly worst examples of how not to behave throughout my career. And I think what I did was, you put yourself in the place of you, and you hear people and how they speak and who they blame or how they take blame or things like that. And man, I learned early on that, you know, that is not the way I wanted to be. And so I was able to kind of craft, you know, I don't know if it's independence or, you know, my path through being who I am. And I think that's the ultimate thing, is you get me for who I am. And, you know, thank goodness, you know, the board and the selection committee chose me, because I think we're going to have a lot of fun doing this. But I am exactly who I am, and the more I can be me, the better the organization is going to be. But that's, I think, the thread all the way through, Chris. You know, when I took over as GM of Wilson, what I quickly realized is that, you know, we had an asset called the US Open that we never did anything with on a marketing side. We never promoted it. We didn't talk about it. So I don't know if anybody on the call was there, but we had a party. And we had a party at the US Open in the W Hotel, and we had the Bryan Brothers Band, we had Roger, Serena, we had Venus. I mean, we had the whole thing, and we said thank you to our customers for the first time. To me, that was like, well, we should be doing this all the time, and it became an annual thing, and it became a lot of fun. But that's the same kind of thing. So shameless plug, come to our conference in September, you may see something like that. But you know, that is the thread, though. The thread is you got to be yourself. And you got to surround yourself with people who can do that, and who can be themselves. And I think that's the other thing too, is we have to be accepting, we have to appreciate, and we have to be really open to the other people, to let them be them, let them be who they are, and what their biggest, you know, use their assets. So exciting
to hear. And I love hearing you saying the importance of who you're surrounding yourself with. There's no way you can move this mountain by yourself. So you need to be surrounded by the people that are going to move it with you. And the other thing that excited me, Brian, is that you were very energetic about saying that, no, this is not my career ending. This is just starting. This is the starting point. I'm excited about it. Do you have a method, whether it was with Wilson or now with the USPTA or the body system, of creating a pipeline of like-minded leaders and professionals to continually surround yourself with?
That's a great question. And here's what I find really interesting about that. I think yes. And I think the best teams that I've ever had and worked with have been in the tennis and the racket sports industry. And I think that goes back to my DNA and the other DNA of the people that, again, like-minded people. I feel incredibly confident about the people that I've met so far and the people I know that are in this industry. The team here is going to be just a bunch of rock stars. And as I said, the team here already is great. This is not anything. This is just looking forward to say, how do we supplement? How do we build? And how do we go forward? And, but I think that's been the biggest thing too, is we all have a relationship we've never met because we have these shared experiences, shared passion, and shared beliefs. So finding a team and a not even a team, but experts and people to surround all of us, easy.
So kind of flipping to a different topic on something that you had brought up before, you talked about the PGA certification and how if you don't have a certain playing ability, you don't even get a sniff at doing the certification, and the education to get that certification. Do you see a necessity for the rackets industry to have a similar pathway where you can't go to a 2-day, 6 hours or 7 hours a day seminar and come out as a USPTA or USPTR certified rackets professional, and you have those five letters behind your name, and you've got the same certification as someone who's been in the industry for 20 years?
So when I got certified back in 1990 or 91, the first thing I had to do was do a skills test. Now, it wasn't difficult. Let's not kid ourselves, but that was the first part. I think there needs to be minimum standards. Of course there does. Do you have to be a Division I player? No, not at all. But we definitely have to have some minimum standards. And I think we should expect that of ourselves. But I'd also put that back on you guys. I mean, you wouldn't want, they say you can hire energy and enthusiasm, which you can, and you can teach people for sure. But if you're going to charge and you're going to have people teach lessons and be experts, yeah, I think there needs to be some sort of minimum requirements.
So somebody asked a question, Chris Franco actually asked, he said, how can leaders get involved with the USPTA and help drive the message in the area? And it kind of brings me back to what you said, that you don't really care if people are USPTA certified, PTR certified, they need to be educated to move on. And many times I know leaders, 2 of which are on this call, that were presidents of different divisions for USPTA and got involved with PTR because they believed in the PPR, the pickleball portion, and were certified. And your predecessor, instead of celebrating that they've had great people, pushed them off the USPTA altogether and really drove great people away. Is that something that USPTA will ultimately correct? And in the end, does it matter who people are involved with? Because in the end, don't we just want great people? And the more involvement with any organization, the more value that they can bring ultimately to your members.
Our job is to create the best product that we can deliver to our members. And so that's my short answer. And they went to the PPR, that's in the history, that's in the past. I can't undo anything, and I can't shoulda, woulda, coulda. But if we create great product and we communicate it well and we deliver it well, then I'm very confident. And you know what? Just be certified. I mean, at the end of the day, be certified. That helps all of us. That'll push our managers and our hiring people to demand that. And again, we need to do the best we can internally and focus on how we make the best product that we can deliver. But at the end of the day, if they're certified, it's better off than not being.
So if somebody's on let's just say someone is a PPR clinician, would they be okay to be on a USPTA sectional board?
That's up to the section. That's up to the divisions. There's nothing restricting that, if that's your question.
So the CEO this time won't get involved because it's about great people.
that's, again, I can't go backwards. All I can tell you is our divisions choose their own boards, they choose their own administration, so how they choose that is completely up to them, and that's in their bylaws.
Got it. Go ahead, Chris.
So Brian, I love how you said just get certified. Just get certified, right? So you get certified, and when you first get certified, no disrespect to anyone in the profession that is newly certified. You're pretty green, you're pretty raw, and you're really starting your development, and you're really starting your skill set and your education. How do you see as the ultimate way for that fresh, young, hungry, or not even young, if someone's gone middle age, you know,
Yeah.
and said, I want to be a rackets professional. How do you say get certified, and then it's not like, great job, you've done it, make sure you pay your dues? What's that pathway to continue the development?
That's a great question. We actually talked about that last week. I think there needs to be a welcome orientation. You know, we don't, you know, it's not like hundreds of people do it every week and every month. It's, you know, groups of 8, 10, 16 to do an orientation, and then to do them and to immediately assign them mentors, so that once they're done and they're certified, immediately they are shepherded, and then it's okay. Do you have a path? Can you show that path? And so that's on us to actually educate and change our process on that certification, because, you know, remember the rest of you when you got certified for the very first time. I mean, very, very proud of that certificate that came in the mail. But you're right. I mean, there's some things that we can fix immediately on welcoming them and getting them some guidance immediately, as opposed to, okay, good luck, and, you know, shove you out the door. And it's not just, it's not just coming to the World Conference either. That's not, I mean, it's great. It's our showcase, but the divisions have amazing conferences. I mean, and you don't even have to, right, Boris? You can go to any division conference. You don't have to go to the one that you're in. You can travel the country. I know the Bryan brothers, I think, are going to Florida or somewhere. I mean, go to any conference and learn and meet people and ask questions. Oh my gosh. If you ask somebody, are you kidding me? They'll all help. They'll all be part of your, be part of your network. But again, that's our job to communicate that also, and make that welcoming faster and better.
So you use the word mentors a lot, and I feel very fortunate that I think I had two of the greatest, and continue to get mentors from peers and all across the industry. It really happens organically, Brian. I think that the right people, the right chemistry, the right cohesiveness, the right energy all comes together, and those are the greatest mentors. How would that mentorship program, how do you envision that transpiring at the USPTA?
We currently have a mentorship program, and so it exists, and I think that's just something we just need to build on and expand. And, you know, all this comes down to explanation, and then it also comes down to empowering, you know, our members to help and to activate. And, you know, some people can do it for 6 months, some people can. I mean, that's something that we just have to learn about. But I think under our current mentorship program, I just think we need to continue to expand and continue to build on it, and to continue to recruit. I mean, that's a recruiting part too, is asking people to help. And I think a lot of the answers we'll get is yes.
So I want to touch on the elephant in the room, because it's been an elephant whether I'm talking to you or Dan Santorum, but and that really is the relationship with USTA. And there's rumors that, you know, USTA is going to start getting involved in certification, and one, I wonder, is that true? Two, how does it affect USPTA? And three, how is your relationship with USPTA? Because I often say, if there's anybody that could be successful on both ends of the spectrum, it's somebody like you.
So I wish I had a nickel for everybody that asked me that, because we'd be doing really well right now, and I'd be able to buy a house like yours, Jarrett. But we have my first phone call was to Lou Scheer at the USTA, and we had a great chat, and I had a meeting with he and Craig Morris the week I got here, the first week in December. We had a great chat. We said we're gonna shake off the scar tissue and move forward. I feel like that is going to happen, and we're going to have a follow-up conversation this week. You know, it's imperative that we work with them. You know, we're not going to say yes to everything, because I don't think that's our role either. But as a membership-based organization, our members are saying we need to have a relationship with the USTA, and we will.
Brian, I know you mentioned, it's all about networking on these conferences, and I'm not going to complain because I have a free trip there. But if it's about networking, then why Hawaii in 2025, knowing that the majority of the members won't be able to make it just because of the price and the travel?
So we are a member-based organization with a membership board or a board and an executive committee, and that's what they voted, Boris. They put that on the table, and the whole executive committee approved it. So that's the decision.
That's before your time.
I mean, it's the structure we're in, and we have to respect that structure. Otherwise, we got to do that. We got to respect the structure for sure.
Well, I love the structure because I can't wait to go to Hawaii. Go ahead, Michael.
Brian, as someone who's on the National Mentoring Committee for USPTA, I, along with Carrie Buck, have been very involved with that, and she's phenomenal. But I think everyone on this call can probably agree. We all took the certification test. You don't really learn much on that certification test. What you learn is from the mentors and people that you work with every day. The mentoring should be a huge focus for USPTA. If we can overhaul that and really we had some amazing pros that stepped up last year who volunteered to do that, who never had before, and we're asking about it. But I think that should be a huge focus for USPTA moving forward, is getting our best to mentor people to become the best. And honestly, that's what the Directors Club is as well. We're trying to help everyone and answer any questions from anywhere in the country to help them be better. I think that should be a huge focus.
Well, I couldn't agree more. But what's interesting, did anybody else, a couple of years ago, the ITA had a mentorship matching program, and I took part of that. And there was a good technology they used that tracked the mentorship and the meetings and the follow-ups and things like that. And our technology is behind the times. So before anybody brings that up, we know that we're going to get off of the duct tape and paper clips hopefully very soon. But if we can also use some technology like that, I think that helps keep people accountable. I mean, listen, the other thing is people are busy, and we are a membership-based organization that's run by volunteers. So we also have to keep that be very sensitive to that. And that's how we were founded, and that's the spirit. So we need people to be part of that, but we also have to be sensitive to people and time.
I think one of the things though to always think about is mentorship is, to Michael's point, mentorship is something that's organic. You want to learn from the people that are the most successful and the people that you emulate. So, to that extent, it's important to, one, put the people in front of the members that want to learn, but you have to either let it happen. It can't be forced. It's like relationships. But one final question, if there's one thing that you want everybody to know, or better yet, this is your elevator pitch. How do we get our members back to USPTA?
You know what? I think we just have to make a better product, and our product needs to be something that everybody wants. Just in my days, when we had Hammer and we had Pro Staffs and we had other products, that was what people desired. And the pitch is going to be, what we're going to offer you is going to help your career, help advance you, and help make you a better candidate, and show you a career path you may never have thought about. I think this industry is going to be incredible for the years to come, because I think we've got not only momentum, I think health is a big thing that we haven't even touched on why we should be in this industry, but the health benefits are just off the charts. We don't talk about that either. But the industry itself is ripe for upgrade, change, and a restart as far as how we recruit new people. And that in and of itself is a major thing we have to do. We just have to get people into our industry and want to start careers here.
Well, Brian, I think you're an incredible inspiration, and your passion comes through, for anybody that's watching. And I can tell you, for me, the day you took the job, I sent you a text and I said, call me, I'm giving you my credit card, I'm ready to renew. And I said this every time we have these talks, people follow people. And I believe in you, we believe in you. And I think that's why we have 100 people max and dozens of people that can't get in tonight, because we don't know what the future holds. But we know that we can follow someone that believes in what we believe in and that share the same values and goals. And at the end of the day, we all want to become better. We all want to do better for ourselves and our families, but we all need each other to succeed and go even further. So thank you for stepping up. You were already a CEO multiple times over before you did this. You moved from Chicago to Florida. Your family's not even there yet. And you're working 7 days a week. And that's not something you have to do. That's something you want to do. And I think that's admirable. So from all of us, I just want to say thank you. And I also want to say thank you for joining us. Not only being a member of the Directors Club, but coming to our retreat, April 7th and 9th. For those of you that don't know about it, it's at Boca West, probably arguably one of the nicest clubs in the world. 150 people are going to be there. We have 22 spots left. Directors, general managers, the works, and the leaders of our industry. So thank you all for being here tonight. We will see you for meeting 19. Keep leading, and thank you for all you do. Let the journey continue, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, everybody. Really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Brian.